If you are a neurodivergent entrepreneur or professional, whether that's ADHD, ADHD, OCD, or you don't resonate with any of these labels, but you know that your brain works differently than most people, and you've ever felt disappointed in yourself because you know you're very capable, but whenever you don't have clear direction, you struggle to take action and sometimes even talk down on yourself because of it. And you're going to want to stay until the end of this video because I'm going to break down the very first step you are going to need to take in order to resolve this. Welcome back to the Neurodivergent Super Brain series, brought to you by the 25-Hour Day. My name is Colin Response, internationally award-winning performing artist, entrepreneur, and global ambassador for the #1 luxury brand in the world. But most importantly, I did all of this with what most people call ADHD and obsessive compulsive disorder. I disagree. So I built a business that's helped now over 150 neurodiverse entrepreneurs and professionals rewire their brains from feeling overwhelmed by lack of time and energy to become masters at executing their ideas profitably and efficiently so that they could add an extra $10,000 to $20,000 a month to their income while cutting their working hours in half. Ultimately, so that they could have the freedom to enjoy their everyday life in the process. And today, I am blessed to be joined with our guest, Jen. Jen is a neurodivergent entrepreneur from Canada. She owns a dog walking business where they provide support and care for four-legged friends in the city of Toronto. And today, I'm going to show her why she is stuck so that she can be empowered to decide whether or not she wants to permanently remove these barriers from her life today. And like usual, I'm going to do it while walking backwards. Let's bring on our wonderful guest, Jen. How are you feeling?
Hi.
So I have your submission. We're going to start by having you read it aloud.
When there's no clear direction, I struggle to take any steps or make any changes. I could potentially be a perfectionist. I don't necessarily want to make a mistake, so I don't take any steps or make any changes in my life. Or could be the concept of analysis paralysis, where I just get so overwhelmed by all the possible directions I could go or the amount of options I have that I don't necessarily know what to choose. So along with all of that, I also have a lot of negative self-talk surrounding the lack of taking any action or making any changes, which also doesn't necessarily put myself in the best position to move forward or make any progress.
Thank you for the honesty, Jen. The first place we're going to start is when there's no clear direction. So the first question I have for you, Jen, is what is a clear direction?
I guess the first thing that comes to mind is someone telling me exactly what to do, or just, I want to say like the status quo of like, this is the route, or this is what you do. This is the correct answer.
Why must you have the correct answer?
I guess so I don't make a mistake. I don't do the wrong thing.
Why are you afraid to make a mistake or do the wrong thing?
I think I don't want to make a mistake or do the wrong thing because I think there would just be like consequences to that. Whereas like I'd be upset with myself, wasting my time, potentially money, other people's time. I think one thing that's really standing out right now is like I'd look stupid or feel stupid.
Clarify with me. Would you be upset with yourself because you feel stupid, or is it because of something else? Is it because you did these other things?
I feel like wasting money, wasting time, or other people's times, it would all kind of, yeah, it kind of all falls under like I feel stupid or like I did something stupid. Like I didn't necessarily make the correct choice or do the right thing because of those consequences.
So these things would cause you to be upset with yourself and you would feel stupid because you did these things. Or these things would cause you to feel stupid, and you'd be upset with yourself because you feel stupid from these things. Can you clarify which one is? If not both or
I
either
think
one? I just want to make sure I'm clear.
I think both, because it's like I feel like I hold myself to a higher standard. Like I shouldn't be making that mistake. I should have known better.
Why is it that you believe you should know better?
I think I don't know. Part of me feels like I know other people make mistakes and that's fine. It's part of figuring it out. It was something, I don't know, I feel like it's making me think of something my dad would say to me when I was younger. Is just like you're like better than this, or you should have known, you're smarter than this. Um, I think also it just like the feeling of doing things wrong is also not a nice feeling. And like that embarrassment feeling, um, feeling like you're like the spotlight's on you and everyone's kind of critiquing you and yeah.
Thanks for the honesty. As we go a little bit deeper on that first statement, is there any other reason you believe that the belief that you shouldn't be making that mistake or should have known better to be the case, other than your dad saying that you should be better or smarter than this, given that you're okay with other people making mistakes, you feel like that's fine and part of figuring it out?
Yeah. I think a lot of it also has to do with that uncomfortable feeling that comes along with maybe doing the wrong thing or not doing it perfectly. Um, and that it's like that embarrassment feeling and like feeling like everyone's watching you and the spotlight's on you and like almost like, you're like the butt of the joke.
And is the unsettling feeling the fact that you are the butt of the joke and being looked down upon, or is that unsettling feeling the fact that you don't know what you're doing? Because those are two separate things.
I feel like to me, they feel very connected. It's like you're the butt of the joke because you don't know what you're doing. And that's embarrassing.
So, do you believe that they're connected, or do you believe that they are the same thing?
Um, I feel like they might be the same thing.
Okay. Can I ask, when you're witnessing somebody else make a mistake because they don't know what to do, why is it that you believe that it's fine? Why aren't you ridiculing them?
Because I guess I have empathy for them. Like I know, like I also make like assumptions that like, oh, like this must be their first time, or I tell my like everyone makes a story in their head to explain other people's behavior. And so I guess the stories I say when looking at other people make mistakes, they're generous and they give people the benefit of the doubt.
Why?
I'd like to think I'm a kind person and I know what it feels like because I do it to myself. So I try to project a kinder narrative, I guess one that I would want other people to use for myself.
Okay.
And I think, I don't know why this is also making me just think of the confidence that someone has. Like, obviously, some people have different levels of confidence and how they feel about themselves. And, for some people, it might not make a difference, but for others, it could like make or break their experience. So that's where my consideration would come from.
So it can make or break the circumstance. And what exactly would it be making or breaking?
I guess that feeling I was expressing, like if someone starts feeling like they're being or not misinterpreted, but being judged in a negative way, they get self-conscious and then they would feel that way versus someone who doesn't necessarily care what people think. That wouldn't influence them and how they feel about themselves.
So I want to ask you about these two specific things that stand out.
Okay.
When other people make mistakes, you believe it's fine And you said that the reason why it's fine is because you have empathy and you know what it would feel like on the other side. The other part was that you mentioned that it's part of figuring it out. And my question to you is, do you believe there's any way to do anything without first figuring it out?
Well, someone would have to figure it out, like at some point. But like, I guess when it comes to, you know, I'm thinking of school now and you're learning things, it's clearly laid out and they're teaching you, and there's a clear right answer. But obviously, when it comes to life, it's not so straightforward. That's where some of that difficulty comes from, of like knowing what to do, because there's no one to there's no guide of what my life is supposed to be, because I'm the one who's running the show and I'm supposed to have the answer. Where my brain is going is when people just kind of know the route they want to go and like where they see themselves and the desire and the goal that they have. And so they make steps toward it, and they inherently know that's the right direction or the right steps for them to take.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we're talking about two different things here. The difference between what you want to do versus your ability to do it. Because somebody can say, this is the mission or vision for my life. Does that mean that because they know it's what they want to do, that they know how to do it?
I think, yeah.
Right. And that's what we got to clear up, it seems. Because how many dogs do you think you could walk successfully at one time?
Depends on the dogs, but also legally only six.
Not legally, I mean your ability to. I
I don't know. I think it maybe eight.
think you could walk 8 dogs because you have the skills to do that. I wanted to walk 8 dogs, and I was like, I want to walk 8 dogs. Do you think that that means that because I want to, that I have now the ability to walk 8 dogs?
No,
So would you then say that somebody's clarity on what they want to do is the same thing as their ability to do it? Or would you say those are two different things?
those would be two different things. But I guess if it's like you would know the steps to get there if you had the end goal, if the end goal was known. Like if you knew you wanted to get to the eight dogs, let's say, you would know to kind of take steps to get there.
Okay. You believe that if you have clarity on what you want to do, that means that that gives you clarity on what steps to take in order to do those things.
I think so. Well, I guess also seeing it written like that is also just making me think, I'm like, well, I guess that doesn't really make sense.
Why not?
It would depend on the situation. And I guess if you know the end result, there's ways that you could articulate it to people and get help and more clarification on how to get there. But then that's also admitting and putting yourself in a position where you admit you don't know,
Okay.
which is like, I guess, the whole idea of like putting yourself in a vulnerable situation to be interpreted in a way that you might not want to be interpreted.
And that way would be not knowing.
Yeah.
So I guess that should then be what you want to accomplish.
Yeah.
So if you have clarity on what you want to accomplish, do you believe that then means you know what steps to take?
No, not really.
Why not?
I guess it really depends on how not accurate, but how clear the goal is, because it could be like a vague, like I'm thinking like someone saying like, oh, I want to be fit and, gain muscle strength or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, there's tons of different ways to do that. How do you know which one to take?
So if I told you that I wanted to walk 6 German Shepherds simultaneously from Toronto General Hospital to the door front of University of Toronto with a blindfold. Does that mean I would know what steps to take?
No.
Would you agree that what I'm looking to do is quite clear?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very detailed goal.
So, with that in mind, do you then think it's possible that the clarity of what you want to accomplish or how vague it is you want to accomplish, whether you have that, doesn't necessarily give you what steps to take?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So far, based on what you shared, it doesn't necessarily seem as accurate as it did at the beginning.
Yeah. I feel like the step I'm missing is if you have clarity on what you want to accomplish, you might know then who to go to for support to know what steps to take. And I think that's where I struggle is like asking for help.
Okay. And let's say you met with that right person. Go back here, knowing what steps you to take. Let's say I wanted to walk those German shepherds and I took off the blindfold. It's the first thing you told me to do. You were like, well, taking off the blindfold is definitely probably going to be a key part of this. I'm curious to know if your belief is that simply by you telling me the steps to take to walk those dogs, that I should be able to then walk the dogs.
No,
Why not?
because you have to, I guess, do it firsthand and potentially make mistakes to know how to do it properly.
So, what I'm looking to understand is, do you think it's even possible to do it without first trying and not knowing how?
Personally, no. But I feel like other people, some people, it seems like the rest of the world just knows what to do.
Hmm, interesting. So, when it comes to dog walking, do you think the average person would be able to walk dogs as effectively as you can?
Yeah, I guess I could say that I could be better than the average person, but it also feels gross to say that.
Right.
No, I said it's not gross to have the skill. I would say it's gross to, although I guess it's still like it's how I feel. Yeah, I don't know.
What you're understanding, it's gross to say you have the skills,
Yeah,
but it's not gross to have the skills.
no. Um, it makes me think of, oh, why can't I think of the word? It's like a personality trait that isn't looked well upon, to like feel very highly of yourself and, eh, to look down on other people.
How about arrogance?
Arrogance, yeah, I guess, yeah.
Is that the word you're looking for, or were you just describing?
It was like just more describing, but I think arrogance falls in line with that. Because if I was to say like I'm better than the average person, that's generalizing the average person, and then that might not be fair. I don't know.
Okay. I guess the real question is, do you actually believe that some scenarios people are better than other people at certain things?
Yeah,
So why is it arrogant to acknowledge the truth of that scenario?
I'm not sure. But it's making me think of how it can be difficult to accept compliment and just say thank you and say and like kind of sit in that and be like not disagree with them and just like appreciate that they noticed. Like I know I struggle if someone was to compliment me. It's almost like I feel like I need to explain or I somehow put myself down within accepting their compliment. I'm almost deflecting it. It feels like a very similar situation if I was to just outright give myself a compliment and like put something out there and state it as fact and like putting myself above other people. Like that also seems like, yeah.
Do you have any idea why you might feel that when somebody's expressing that to you, you feel it necessary to, in some way, circumvent that from happening?
No, I guess maybe like in a way it's like acknowledging the spotlight on you. I like being seen in the same way that when you're making mistakes, the spotlight's on you potentially and you're being seen.
So what I'm hearing is this mirroring of, if you know what to do, you have a problem. But if you don't know what to do, you have a problem, which leads me to believe that maybe that's not the problem.
Mm.
Because if you don't want to be embarrassed by not knowing what to do, well, then naturally you have to learn what to do. But it sounds like if you learn what to do and somebody's telling you that you know what to do, you don't want it to be acknowledged that you know what to do.
Yeah. And that's where I kind of feel like it seems like the commonality is just being perceived. It seems really interesting because I feel like wanting to have connection with people and like have community and build relationships, like I want to be seen and need to be seen in order to find the right people. But I don't want to be seen, which is like they're just counterintuitive. It's just breaking my brain a bit.
It's okay. That's over here. So break the brain just a little bit. Seems like we've gotten to a point where we've clarified that maybe what we thought was the problem might not be the problem. And the focus of being seen is what makes you feel embarrassed.
Yeah, I think that feels accurate.
Why do you think that might be?
Why being perceived makes me feel embarrassed. I guess kind of similar to what I was saying earlier, like everyone kind of makes up a story in their head to explain someone else's behavior. So if I'm being perceived, I know someone, is telling themselves a story about me to explain my behavior. And I guess I've concerned myself, or I am concerned with the story they are telling themselves about me
And why are you concerned about the story that they would be telling you?
because it's most likely not painting me in a good light. Like it's a negative. Like even if it's even, I don't know, I'm thinking of like how it was like the positive or the negative thing that I'm doing. It's like I'm still taking it negatively, I guess, because like there's a way that the story that they're telling themselves to explain my behavior is still putting me or painting me in a negative way.
Now, what I'm curious to know is if you think there could be any connection between why you believe that other people would be perceiving you in a negative light and the fact that you reject people seeing you in a positive light, even when they're verbally saying it to you. Like you're actually trying to prevent that from happening.
I think I guess it would probably have to do with like how I see myself. And like I guess similar to like the original question or issue I posed was when it came down to the negative self-talk that I have around, not making any changes or moving forward or knowing what to do. It's very similar and like it's like a negative way that I think of myself or speak to myself.
Well, I think it seems pretty logical that when I asked you about before the dog walking, I said, "Do you think there's anything you do better than the average person?" And you said no, which seems like you explained afterwards that objectively speaking, you don't believe that that's true. You just believe saying that is a bad thing to do because you're better at brushing your teeth than a baby. Would you disagree?
Yeah. I mean, no, I wouldn't disagree.
That's awesome. I knew what you meant, but that would be hilarious. Um,
But I guess it's also just like that's not a thought or a way of thinking that goes through my mind. So for someone to ask me, what are you better at than most people? Like my mind goes blank.
Here's what's important. Your mind goes blank, but do you believe that it's actually true that you're not better than anybody at anything?
I mean, I guess not. Like I guess there are certain things that I could might be better at, but I
I'm
can't
sorry.
even I feel like I'm
Yeah.
trying to convince myself even that still. Like it still seems
Yeah.
strange to say.
You are incredibly uncomfortable with declaring your competence in anything,
Yeah.
like literally anything. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a matter of whether or not you are better or worse or anything like that. You are not well practiced in literally speaking the truth about yourself if it is pertaining to something positive. Like, I'm asking you if you're better at brushing your teeth than a baby is,
Who doesn't have teeth?
and who doesn't have teeth, and you're trying to find ways to soften saying that you would be better. Like, you're like, well,
Yeah, I'm like
it could be
explaining why
potentially there could be, and,
there could
which
be a baby out there.
yeah, exactly. Which leads me to believe that there's something you believe is wrong with you being good at something. And so, what I want to know is, what is the consequence that you believe you face from being good at something? Like, if you were to say, hey, I am better than the average person at walking dogs, what problem enters your life because you've declared this?
I guess
Or
it
that,
kind of goes back to the idea of making a mistake. If I'm to declare that I am better and then I don't meet that expectation that I've now put out, I think that's also where my feelings of like looking stupid come from, maybe because I just said I was, you know, great at it, and then I let people down potentially by not meeting those expectations.
so, so you believe that you shouldn't make mistakes if you're good at something.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think it's accurate, but I can understand the logic that you're sharing with me. That's what I was trying to figure out. So you believe that if you tell somebody, well, like, yeah, I'm better than the average person, then more people are perceiving you.
And judging me.
But simultaneously, you also understand that the only way you could actually become good at something would be to do things you didn't know how to do. That's actually how you would become good at that thing. So sounds like in a bit of a pickle there.
Mhm.
We started with when there is no clear direction. And
Mhm.
I asked you, well, what is a clear direction? And you said somebody telling me exactly what to do. It's the status quo. It's the correct answer.
Yeah, because then it's that what I'm doing matches what they agree on. And so then the story they have to be telling themselves is that I'm doing it correctly. And like there's no negative connotation there.
Mhm. What you shared by your definition of clear direction was someone telling you exactly what to do, the status quo, the correct answer, essentially saying that whatever information is provided to you would protect you from being perceived in a negative light.
Mhm.
So it brings us to the real question. Is that actually a clear direction?
Mm.
Well, maybe this might have something to do with it because your direction presently is defined by not anything in relationship to a direction. It actually has to do with people seeing you in a positive light. Anywhere you go is determined by whether or not people are going to see you in a positive light. Like, that
Yeah.
is what we're seeing here is your guiding principle for all of your behaviors.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense because I think one of the things I've struggled with in my life is worrying that I'm and wanting, yeah, worrying that I'm not a good person and
Mhm.
wanting to be a good person.
So here's the real question, Jim. What is a good person? Is a good person somebody who does what everybody is expecting them to do?
Yeah, I guess it makes me think of like a very black and white way of thinking when you're a kid. And it's like being good when you're good or bad. Like you're good when you follow directions and you're doing what you're told. And like there is a right and a wrong way to do things. Um, oh wow. Um, yeah. And I guess that's where like the consequences come into play too. Because if you when you're a good kid, you get rewarded. And then if you're bad, you get punished. Has anyone ever cried during your sessions?
Often.
Really? Okay. It's making me think of how, I guess, when I was a kid and just like how my parents raised me as well, it's the goalpost kept moving and there was no celebration or acknowledgement of accomplishments or like, I guess in this context, like being good. And there was no verbal conversation there with it or acknowledgement. But one thing that would always be acknowledged was doing something negative. There would be a conversation around it and it would be defined with these many lists of words. But I was never acknowledged for when I was being good. That's why I don't know the definition, because it was never acknowledged to me when I've been doing it. I've never gone that deep and like really gotten to like not even just defining it, but then reframing it. I have my Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience, specializing in psychology. And I'm very aware of how the brain works, especially when it comes to different types of neurodivergent avenues. Like those negative thoughts have run through my mind so often that it is just like the strongest pathway and it's the easiest thing for my brain to go to, causing the symptoms of like not being able to like feel frozen and not feel like I could make any progress or do anything. Now I've actually given myself the tools to choose a different pathway that can eventually be stronger than the negative one. And that's really exciting. Like, I don't know. I've spent so much money on therapy and I've never gotten to where we got to today. So I'm just so grateful. Thank you, Colin.
You're very welcome. The entire point of the series is to expand your awareness to the real problem so that you can see what is possible for you when you have clarity on what needs to be resolved and you actually have clear steps. What you witnessed was a drop in the bucket of what is possible when you're aware of how to leverage the way that the neurodiverse brain naturally works. So if you're watching this and you are tired of spending thousands of dollars on generic productivity coaching programs or thousands of dollars on therapy to talk to somebody, but you still have the same problems, then click the link that is in the description of this video. I've put a link to one of our free masterclasses so that you can see what is possible for you when you learn how to unlock the way that the neurodivergent brain naturally works. Unfortunately, our enrollment is currently full at the time of recording this video, but if you're somebody who wants to add another 10, 20K a month to your income, cut your working hours in half so that you can enjoy your everyday life in the process, please do yourself a favor. Watch the free masterclass because it is possible for you too. Or don't. It's up to you.
But if nothing changes, nothing changes.
Thank you, Jen, for your honesty.
Thank you. Oh my God, this is like the beginning of the rest of my life.